Hi, this is Greg again with my new YouTube channel, another video for the channel called Overcoming Grief. And today I'm going to talk a little bit about my experiences with God regarding this. Some of you may believe in God, some of you may not. I hope it doesn't scare you off, but I'm just going to explain a couple things that helped me get through in an unusual way. It's not, I hated God when she died. Tiffany, a quick overview. I have a son. He's 13 now. He was 11 when his mom died. And this is a woman I loved. I wanted to be with her. I was waiting to marry her. She had no clue I even wanted to marry her. It's kind of a weird guy. But I was waiting. 2006 to 2018, I waited for her. I was single because I wanted to wait for her. She was a heroin addict. And the drugs didn't get her. Ultimately, they played a part, but it was ITP, which is an autoimmune disorder that destroys the platelets. The immune system does. So, that being said, I'm a Christian, and I believed in God. At the time, I was living in a discipleship house. I was seeking God, and I led her to Jesus Christ on her deathbed. So, when she died, I had a couple questions for the simple fact that I journal a lot. So what I did was I asked God in one of my journaling sessions, I said, look, this is the woman I want to marry. Can I marry her? And God said, you'll be with her. And I said, well, this is great. And then she died. So then I got very angry at God and really mad. Like I was spitting venom. It was anger. It was part of the grief process that I didn't know how to deal with the emotions that were coming at me the way they were. And what happened, ironically enough, I think I talked to 2 or 3 different pastors. I was seeing a grief counselor, and all that helped. But the questions I had, why? Why did she pass away in regards to why, when I asked God if I could marry her, he said I would be with her, and she died. Why did God allow me to fall in love with her like that when that wasn't the plan at the beginning? And those were the 2 biggest questions because they really haunted me. So I'll take you back to 2009. I was in rehab, and she was doing some things she shouldn't have been doing in regards to drugs and stuff. And a guy that she was running the streets with came into the same rehab as him and told me some of the things she was doing. And I'm not going to get into them, but they were pretty bad in my eyes. So I was packing my stuff up, and I was going home. I was going to leave. And as I was packing my stuff up, God said, I don't want you to leave. I don't want you to go. I'm not ready for you to leave yet. And I said, well, if that's the case, then what you're going to need to do is prevent her from doing this again. Less than a week later, and this is a true story, she ended up going to prison. DCF, actually, I live in Florida, so DCF is Department of Children's and Families. They called me from the state and said that, we know where you are, but we need to make you aware that your son's mother's headed to prison. So I think God answered that prayer pretty quick. Let me tell you, after that, this is where it kind of gets interesting. I'd say maybe a week later, I was walking around the track that they had, and I was talking to God, and I said, you know what? Thinking about Tiffany, I was like, she doesn't deserve to go to heaven. And God's answer really is what stopped me. And this was kind of where I first started hearing God's voice. And here's how he talks to me. It's pretty funny, really. Not really, but it is now. It wasn't then. He goes, you know what? You're right. She doesn't deserve to go to heaven. So I'm thinking, wow, I was right, and he wasn't done, though. He said, but neither do you. The only reason you're getting to go to heaven is because of what I've done for you. And I love her as much as I love you. Your problem, this is what he's saying to me, your problem is you don't love her. You think you do, but you don't. So I started to cry. It really broke me down. And I said, I need help loving her then. Because if this is what I'm supposed to do, I fell in love with her. Unbeknownst to me, and I'm going to get to how all that plays into her death. So I fell in love with her, and I waited all these years, and she was absolutely beautiful, and she just had a lot of issues, So let's fast forward to her death. So she goes to the hospital, and I come into the room for the first time, the first night that I saw her in the hospital, and I asked her. Her mom left, and it was just me and her, and I said, let me tell you about God. Do you know if you pass away, if you're going to heaven? And she said, no. Now, I've known this woman for 13 years. Never talked to her about Jesus like this. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, I'm talking to her about God. And this is, so we said the prayer of salvation, and I explained to her exactly what it all means. And I didn't think really much about it, but she passed away 3 weeks later. She needed to hear it right then. I had no clue. I've seen her in the hospital before. Never said that prayer with her. So that was interesting. Number one. Number two, the last time I saw her awake, she was on a different floor. She went from ICU up to the 5th floor, and they brought a lady with pneumonia in there. She had an autoimmune disorder. She ended up contracting pneumonia, and that was one of the main reasons she passed away. But I think the important thing in regards to that conversation we had that night was, I told her finally, I was like, all these years I've been wanting to be with you, I've been wanting to marry you, and couldn't believe that I had said it because I had no intent. There was other more important things for me at that point in time in my eyes that I had to talk to her about than this. Because she wanted me to find a rehab for her. I mean, she was really looking to, when she got out, to change her life. And I remember leaving the hospital going, why did I tell her that? It makes no sense. Like, that there's so, other important things. And when I told her, she was like, oh, okay. But I figured that's what she would do because that's just how she, But I think that was, I think it was like a Monday or something. Well, I went home and I went back on Wednesday, and they had put her under because they had to put breathing tubes down her throat. So she never came out of that. Like a week later, she passed away. But that last conversation, that'll stick with me for the rest of my life. And when she died, the two questions I have. Number one, why would you tell me, this is my question to God, and I asked pastors this, they couldn't give me the answer. Pray about it. So I did. And God said, first of all, you should have come to me first, and I would have told you. Second of all, the question, first one, why would you tell me that I would be with her? When I asked you to marry, you said I'd be with her, and then you take her. And God said, you are going to be with her. So I took it out of context. What he meant was, you'll be with her ultimately in heaven. So I think, and I know that may sound like a cop-out to a lot of people, but that's how it happened. More importantly, though, I was so angry because I fell in love with her. And God, I didn't love her before. If you remember me telling you, and I said, why did you let me fall in love with her? That makes no sense because I had no intentions on falling in love with this woman. Why would you allow me to do that and know that she's going to pass away? It makes no sense. Because you knew, and as I'm saying this to God, you knew I'd be faithful, marry her and do all this, but here I am, left empty-handed. And God said to me, he goes, now you understand what unconditional love is. Unconditional love is taking your emotions and anything about you and you're throwing it out. And the love you have is nothing but for the other person. And you do have unconditional love for her. You led her to Christ. You sat at her deathbed. And it hurt you. You're the one that got hurt, but she's in heaven. I had to use the fact that you loved her because nobody else was going to sit there and talk to her about me. So I used that to lead her to me. So it's not, and I know a lot of people, because I've told people this, and they blame God. Well, that's just horrible to do to someone. Well, I'm the guy that he did it to, and I can tell you this. Knowing where she is right now is more, it makes, at the time, I was still mad when he told me. I was not trying to have it. I wasn't talking to him. But I get it now. I'm going to see her again. And it's not, going to heaven for me isn't about seeing her. It's about seeing God anyway. But for her at the time, like, to get the answer, that same night, even though I was still mad at God, I thought about it. I'm like, he answered me. Nobody else could, but he answered me. So he asked me, would you have sat at her deathbed if you didn't love her like you wanted to marry her? If you didn't love her to that extent, would you have sat at her deathbed? I said no. And that was the right answer. I wouldn't have. So he said, that's why I allowed that. Because I knew you would be the one that I could trust to sit there and lead her to me. So I was like, wow, that's pretty interesting. Now I can look at it and say that. At the time I was like, not even going to go into what I was saying to God, but yeah, I was hurt. I was hurt. And pain creates different uh, reactions from us sometimes, especially emotional pain is the worst kind. So, for me and the grief that I went through in this instance, in this circumstance, God was right there with me. And if it wasn't for him, I cannot tell you where I'd be right now. I'm a recovering addict, alcoholic, and I can tell you right now, I probably would not be here. My son would be without a mother and a father. So it was God's hand and his voice that stopped me and said, look, if you want to know the answers, I'll give them to you. You may not like them, but I'm going to be honest with you. So, this video, I think, is geared around the spiritual aspect of who we are as people. Whether you believe in God or not, you may not believe anything I'm telling you right now, but here's the thing. I know because I experienced it. The experience is mine and nobody can take that from me. I know he was there and I know what he said to me. And it saved my life, I can tell you that. Because if, in fact, I thought for any circumstance that those questions wouldn't have been answered, I can't tell you what I would have done or where I'd be right now. Because it hurt that bad and I needed them. He gave me the answers right when I needed them. So, I just want to let everybody know out there that I'm going to be doing other videos. My girlfriend, who I'm just going to hit on real quick. I met my girlfriend now. I swore off marrying anybody or dating anybody because I just hurt too bad. This hurt me too bad. I met her last year and she loved me into her life. I can tell you that. She is a phenomenal human being. I love her to death. This is the woman I'm going to marry. I guarantee you that. So, God took me in 2 years from a vehemently hating relationships to meeting a woman who believes in God, who has kids of her own. One has autism, and he's an amazing kid. Amazing. So much to learn and see. He sees life through a different set of eyes. And it's pretty cool. So, but she has really loved me into where I'm at right now and really helped me through the process. She herself is going to be doing a video with me, and she's been through a couple deaths. So hopefully I can get her to talk about those, and maybe she can give you better insight on how she dealt with something that was different than how I dealt with it. So I got a lot of stuff going off on this phone right now, and I really want to apologize for the inferior quality of the videos and the noises and stuff, but this is what I have to work with. I'm just trying to get videos out right now to get the dust shaken off and just to get me behind it or in front of a camera and putting videos out, and I do appreciate the people that are watching these videos, and hopefully I can help somebody. If you have any questions or comments, please like and subscribe and leave a comment below. I will be putting out another video within a week, and if there's any topics you want me to cover, drop a comment and let me know what you want me to cover, and I'll look into doing a video on it. I think it's important for us to reach out to each other as well. If there's anybody in the comments that has a question, ask the question. I may not be able to answer it, but somebody else may see it and answer it for you. Talk to each other. God put us on this earth to love one another. Jesus said to the commandments, "This is a new commandment I give you." This is in John 14. "This is a new commandment I give you. Love one another as I have loved you." So this is the greatest commandment, is to love the Lord thy God with all our heart, mind, body, and strength, and to love one another as yourself, is what it says in the Old Testament, but Jesus wants us to love one another as he has loved us. This is where I'm at right now. So I'm in a really good place right now, and I want to help people. I just want to help people see life the way that I see it now. It took a while. It doesn't happen overnight, I can tell you that. So if you're going through grief right now, if you're struggling with this, reach out. All right, I'll see you on my next video. I love you guys, and God bless you. And don't forget to like and subscribe.